So yesterday we had begun on integrated reporting. We had done some of the most important parts actually about integrated reporting, and a few things I wanted to re-emphasize from yesterday's class was the capitals, the 6 capitals. They are usually examined, so it's best that we all understand them so that we can easily relate if they are asked in
Wait,
the exam.
hold on, the 6 capitals. Yesterday I left the call, my phone had blacked out.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Let me take you here. Let me take you there. They're here. We have 6 capitals, and they are. We
Mm,
have the financial capital. Usually, this talks about the finances that have been gathered by the company. How they are getting is it their finances either through the shareholders, or are they getting from loans, from equity? All that is considered under
financial capital.
the financial capital. Then yesterday you left on which part? On the before the capitals?
Yeah, it was before the capitals. You had just started integrated reporting.
Oh my god. So it means you left around 30 minutes before the end of the
Mm-mm.
class.
The class ended at I don't know at the time the class ended, but I remember leaving at 10.
Oh, we finished at around 10:28, around there.
Okay.
Mm, but basically, integrated reporting talks
Mm,
about the other reports that are provided other than the financial statements. You know, at the
okay.
end of the
Yeah,
financial
yeah.
year, the reports
Yeah,
that are
I remember
provided.
you mentioned the social, economic, environmental stuff. Eh? Yeah, that
Oh,
I was present.
okay. So, if I think at that point I talked about the most of the things in summary about integrated reporting, but the main things, the ones I wanted to emphasize today are the 6
Mm,
capitals because
mm,
they can easily come in any paper, so it's best that you understand them. So we have the financial capital, which talks about how the financing of the company has been obtained, if it's either through debt or through equity, or are there any grants, are there any donations, are they having what sorry which money are they using to do the financing of the production of goods and services. Then we have the manufactured capital. The manufactured capital talks about the tangible resources that are made by the other entities. For example, we have fixed assets, we have infrastructure, we could have roads, maybe ports, bridges, equipment, buildings, all those that you have acquired that are manufactured, things that you have acquired that are manufactured. Then we have
okay.
intellectual capital. This one talks about the intangibles, the intangible assets that you've gotten, maybe patents, brands, copyrights, softwares, licenses, rights to maybe operate, maybe in different locations or be able to produce a particular product. Those are intellectual capitals that a company can have. What you have been able to, what you've been able to take like an asset, but is intangible. Look at things like goodwill. Then we have the human
Mm,
capital. Human capital talks about the people, the competencies that they have, the skills, their capabilities, their experiences. If you have an equipped team of members, assuming you're a manufacturing company, and the members that you're working with, every other person is well equipped in terms of knowledge on the product that they're going to produce, maybe the designs, maybe softwares. So it's easier for the company to be able to have a good product, because every person who is working on the chain knows what they are supposed to do. Vis-a-vis, if you have people on the team that don't know the product at all that you're trying to work on, it will be difficult because you have to keep monitoring them. So having a good human capital, or having a human capital, is very helpful and very advantageous for the company. Then the last one is the social and relationships. These are relationships that you have with other institutions, other communities. Do you be having any shared norms, common values with people that are within your society? So these are assets that a company can rely on, and they can be able to also report them in the integrated reports. We also have natural. The natural capital, these ones are the renewable and non-renewable resources that they could be getting from the environment. They could be maybe minerals or any other, but a resource which is natural, maybe anything that would be from the environment. So those are the main 6 capitals. Those are the only 6 capitals, actually, not the main. Those are the only 6 capitals that I talked about in integrated reporting, and they are easily examinable. I wanted to emphasize them, but we had covered them yesterday. Yes. So today, let me first send a message in the group for the members to join in. So, like I had explained yesterday, integrated reports are not mandatory reports. They are not like the audited financial statements. Because they are not mandatory, they do not have a specific procedure of how they should be prepared. However, there are principles or guidelines that are put in place to assist in case the company has decided to prepare the integrated reports. What should they consider such that they are complete, such that they are usable, maybe for comparisons, and for the shareholders or the other stakeholders that are interested in knowing more about the company. So one, we have strategic focus and future orientation. Here the company provides the value they have created over time. What is their focus? What are they doing? And what do they expect to do in the foreseeable future? We have connectivity of information. They should be able to show or demonstrate connectivity between the factors that affect the organization's ability to create value over time. We also have shareholder relationships. This one gives the insight on the nature and quality of organization's relationships with its different key stakeholders. You could also prepare showing the materiality of what you're trying to present. So under materiality, you're showing what significantly affects the organization's ability. What things are you doing? What information are you having? What items are you putting in place so that the organization is working on value creation, or what it is going to create, what it is going to do to create more value in the near future. Then it should be concise. The report should be well focused on what you're trying, the information that you're trying to put across, not extremely long or giving unnecessary information. It should also be very relevant, such that they can pick the information they're interested in. Then the report should also be reliable and complete, giving all the material items and information affecting the organization, and it should also be free from material error. A lot of mistakes should be avoided, given that these reports are not, it's not mandatory to have them audited, and I think they are not audited as of now. Most integrated reports are not audited. They should be, so the company which is preparing should try as much as they can to ensure that they have minimal material errors. The reports should also be consistent and comparable with other companies. If the companies are preparing integrated reports in a particular format, at least it should be able to be comparable with what you're also preparing. Those are the guiding principles for the reports that we prepare in terms of showing integrated reports. Keeping in mind that these integrated reports are not mandatory, so there is no particular way, like the way you see maybe a balance sheet having a standard structure of how it should look like. These ones are different, but at least it should be something that can be readable, understandable, and usable. Easy to compare with other organizations, to be able to pick the information that is very important. Are we together? Is everything clear?
Yeah, everything is clear.
Okay. So some of the things that you could include are stated here, but you could also include more. You could include the organizational overview and external environment, people that how you're relating with the external environment. You could include corporate governance. What governance are you having in place? What committees could you be having in place? What are the roles? Those could come under the organization's governance and the leadership structure. Then you could also include business models. Which models are you using and following as a company? You can also include the risks and opportunities that you're facing in the process of value creation. We can include the performances that we are having, which are not financial performances. This could be as a result of maybe the 6 capitals that we've just talked about. Maybe you've done employee how do we call it, employee trainings. You're trying to equip them with a lot of knowledge so they can maybe be more efficient. Anything that affects your performance other than the financials, you could include it. Then we also have the resource allocations. Sorry about that. And also any other any outlooks that you're having, uncertainties, what are you prospecting for the near future. You could also include them in these reports. And lastly, the basis of presentation and presentation. What are you basing on as you're trying to prepare these reports for the users, so that they can be easily guided on what they are trying to read. So there is an activity that I included. You will read through it. Most of these activities, they're not like questions. It will give you a preamble, and then it will try to explain what it means or how you could be able to answer in case it is examined. So you check them
Okay.
out for you to be able to understand better.
Right.
So, like I said, audit of integrated reports, it's not mandatory as of now. So they're not usually audited like the financial statements are, but at least they should be reliable and complete. for the users to be able to understand. So you'll go through these examples and activities. They will give you much more knowledge.
Okay.
I had talked about integrated thinking yesterday. I don't know if you were in class at that time when I talked about it. Were you?
No, I wasn't.
Or there is a difference between integrated reporting and integrated thinking. I think it was examined some time back, and most students confused the integrated reporting with the integrated thinking, and they missed out on the marks. So integrated thinking, this one it brings out what is in the minds, or what is the company looking forward to. What are they thinking about? What are they trying to put in place, maybe to have value creation, have problem solved, have growth, achieve maybe their set goals and targets, which is different from preparing a report. When you're preparing a report, you're preparing what has happened in the past and what you're planning for the future. So they're a bit different. You don't have to confuse the two of them.
Mm, okay.
Okay. So we have social impact assessments, sustainability and social impact assessments. These ones include monitoring and analyzing the intended social consequences or the unintended social consequences of planned interventions, and any social change processes evoked by those interventions. So this one talks about the social footprints. Social footprints. Just a minute. Let me show you something before here. There is something that talks about. I think it should be here. This one, environmental footprints. These are I had not with environmental okay, having a footprint, just like in layman's language, is what are you leaving behind? If you've done something, what is its impact? So we have the environmental footprint and the social sustainability footprint. Under the environmental footprint, here you give an impact that you're doing or you're giving to the environment, in terms of maybe resources, in terms of managing your wastes. What are you doing, or how are you trying to manage everything to be able to keep the environment safe for all the people? So these ones, you include them in the report, mainly one for the investors maybe who want to invest. You could not want to invest in something that is going to harm you as an individual tomorrow. So you're interested to know if this company is producing something, how is it, sorry about the noise, how is it managing the wastes, for example, to be able to keep people around it safe. So that is for the environmental footprint.
Footprint.
Yeah, this one talks about mainly things that affect the environment: the climate, the pollutions, the waste management. All those are explained on the environmental footprint. Then we have the social footprint. So the social footprint, this one talks about the performance we look at the society, the society around that is surrounding the environment. Maybe the competitors, look at the people in the same line of businesses. So this method mainly it will be measuring and reporting social sustainability performances of an organization alongside with the people that could be in the same social circle. You get the difference, eh?
Yeah.
Yes. So this one will talk about you can even go around and talk about for example, what impact are we doing on our own team of members, for example our employees. How are we impacting them to be able to impact the current organization and the society at large? If we're having a good production team, it's producing a healthy product, it means it's going to be both good for the company and good for the users who are the society maybe using the product. So under that we can talk about the human capital, we can talk about the social capitals, the networks that we have created, what are the interests that we are having, what are the mutual relationships that we have created, what is the goodwill that we are taking on. All this you'll be able to present to talk about if you're having a social footprint, what have you left behind. Also constructed capitals could also come along under the social footprint, because in the constructed this will be for example, look at Airtel could have done maybe the painting of Nambole Stadium. That's an infrastructure that has been constructed to help the society or to motivate maybe the society. Maybe they'll put up a road. The road is not being used by only the company vehicles. Maybe societies that are around are also using the same road. So those, if you're talking about a social footprint, that's where you could clearly bring about these three capitals: the social capital, the human capital, and the constructed capital. But the financial, clearly it would not have any effect on the social footprint. So I think we have covered majority of the very important parts of integrated reporting. Unless you have any questions for me as of yet.
I have no questions.
Okay, so you go through the activities so that you will be well equipped. So
Okay.
we can now go to the triple bottom line reporting. We have the bottom line, we have the three bottom line reportings here. So the bottom line accounting, it measures and reports corporate performances against the economic, the social, and the environmental benchmarks. It shows the main purpose is to show improvement or to make more in-depth evaluations. That is the bottom line reporting, or it could also be called the 3BL.
The triple bottom.
Yes. So its main focus, it's looking at the reporting or the measuring of the social, that is 1, the economic, that is 2, and the environmental benchmarks, as it is trying to report its improvement or more in-depth evaluation. Let me first admit someone here. Okay. So the bottom line could be reviewed as a reporting device, giving the information on maybe annual reports. They could also be used as an approach of improving decision making and the activities of organizations, because it is providing the frameworks for considering when you're doing the economic, environmental, and social implications of the decisions, products, or operations for the future and the future plans. So we have the advantages and the disadvantages. Some of the advantages include they help to increase or have transparency in the organization's decisions that are being considered in terms of the environment and the people, as well as the financial capital. They also give a more informed decision. They give more informed decision making, as decision makers can quantify the trade-offs between the different aspects of sustainability. They improve relationships in the key stakeholders and improved risk management through consultations. They also help in specific commercial advantages, like in customers, suppliers, and maybe finance providers like banks or equity providers or debt providers. They also help in enhancing the reputation and the brands of the company. Then we also have some disadvantages for the bottom line reporting. There are few standards currently that are available for measuring these effects. Then usefulness and comparability, as there is a significant range of disclosure. It's because they may not be consistent, it could be difficult to have them compared in between the different companies that are reporting. Then we have differences in the economic benefits, in the economic bottom line and the financial bottom line. We have also a problem of an increased cost when you're doing the reports on a yearly basis, especially for the smaller entities. We also have a challenge of potential exposure to risks and liability, because you're giving more information to the other parties. They are looking at what you're planning, what are you doing for the social, for the economic. So they look at that, and then they could be able to see, to have you at a risk of them, maybe especially maybe the competitors, for them to be able to see what you're not doing well, to be able to do it better, and also have a potential bias in the voluntary presentation. Because this is voluntarily done, of course there could be a bias if you're doing the reporting. So this is a diagram giving a summary of showing the indicators of the impact. We have the economic, social, and the environmental. Under the economic, we have the gross operating surplus, dependence on imports, stimulus to domestic economy or the local purchasing. We also have under social, we have health and safety records, tax contributions, employment. Then the environmental, you could report the impact that you're doing on the environment. That is like the carbon, the waste management, emissions on soil and water and energy uses. This could be some of the things that you could report on in regards to the bottom line reporting. So we should be we should be good enough to be able to do a question on integrated reporting as of now, because we have covered all the most important parts on integrated reporting. Cecilia, you're welcome. You found us in the middle of the class already. We began a little early, not a little early actually, we're a little late. Unfortunately, the other members have not been able to log in. Maybe we shall give them the recording to be able to follow. You have any questions from integrated reporting, Cecilia? Okay. So we can even get let me check if I have just a second. Let me check if I have the kit on my laptop and see if I can get any short question on integrated reporting, so that we can be able to go through it very fast. I don't have the kit on my laptop. I have to download it. I shared it in a group. Okay, I'm trying to forward the kit to my email so that I can present it. And then in the meantime, as I'm trying to download, Jen, you'll share with me your email address such that when I'm sending the notes, I could copy you in, as well as Cecilia. I think I don't have your email address too. You can send them either on my WhatsApp or in the group. I will pick them from there. I'll be sharing another handout that we shall be using. Anyway, in the meantime, as I see the network is a bit slow, I think we can start on another topic as the kit downloads. Let me see. Okay, here we are. I don't usually like doing questions from the kit because they are not very complete, but we are going to pick any sample question just for us to be able to understand how the paper, the exam could set or could come with any section of integrated reporting, and how we can possibly pick the answers from the extracts to be able to answer. Like I said yesterday, and I've already said in all the classes, SBL, 50% of the answers will be given to you in the exhibit. Try as much as you can to relate your answers with the exhibit that has been provided. Otherwise, if you give generic information, it earns you no mark, completely 0 mark. So you have to always link them. So let's look for just a second. Anyhow, for us not to waste a lot of time, let's start on the other topic as I look for the question that we can be able to attempt maybe towards the end of the class if possible. If not, we can start with a complete question, can get a complete question that will cover at least more than 2 or 3 topics that we have covered before. Are we still there? Hello?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So we can now go ahead and be able to look at additional information about the functions of the different of the boards that are appointed in leadership. We had done part of this in the first handout of leadership. There is some information, so this will be giving us additional extra knowledge on leadership and boards. So we have different roles. The roles of the directors. I think from the previous papers that we have looked at, you could brainstorm. Anyone to tell me what you could think about. What are the functions of the board?
Provision of an oversight over management's decisions.
That is like one of the main roles. Any other? Any other that you could think of?
Ensuring that controls, policies, and procedures are implemented.
Yes, that could also be a role, especially for the executive directors. Okay, so we can look at them in detail. So the board usually has the executive directors and the non-executive directors. The executive directors, usually these are the ones who are doing the active management and leadership of the company. They are involved in the day-to-day running of the business. They could be having maybe the CEOs, they could be having CFOs. Then the non-executive directors, these ones are not employees of the company. They are involved in overseeing, overlooking, or management, supervision of what the executive directors are doing, if it is in line with what is required of them or not. So that is what those two main bodies, those are like those are like their main major duties. So the senior employees who are part of the executive directors, usually these ones will be working on the policies, leading of the functional businesses, maybe finance, maybe marketing, maybe production. This will be their work. Usually this will be led by the CEO and the finance director in checking the day-to-day running of the business. It's also their responsibility to be able to guard the interest of the shareholders, because these ones, they are sorry about that. So the executive directors, they are now the people that are acting on behalf of the of the shareholders. So they are the agents. They're supposed to, in everything they're doing, they're supposed to safeguard the interests of the shareholders. They're responsible for that, which is now different from the basic roles of the non-executive directors. The non-executive directors, like I said before, for them, they will be to monitor, check if the executive directors are doing or doing their duties in line with what is required of them. Sorry about that. So this gives a breakdown of what the executive directors will be doing in terms of managing and actively monitoring of what the business is doing on a day-to-day basis. They will be reviewing the corporate strategies, the major plans, what policies have been put in place, maybe for management of risks. What are their plans? What are the future plans? What budgets are being set and put in place? This will be the role of the executive directors, especially the CFOs, the CEOs, and the major management, or the top management employees. They're supposed to give objectives and also set KPIs. They're supposed to do the monitoring and the corporate performance and implementing the corporate performance in the company. They should also be able to check that the governance procedures that have been put in place are being followed. So these are some of the examples of the requirements or of the roles of the executive directors. Mainly, they will be doing the implementation. So there is an exhibit. These exhibits, like I said, they are giving more detailed information. Okay, well, let's go through this together. We've taken some time without going through some of the exhibits together. So the chairman plays a crucial role in ensuring the board is effective. Corporate governance, a publication of the, I think these notes were cut. I will check and update you. A publication of the something, I don't know, is it local stock exchange, listing the following attributes for a chairman of an effective board. The chairman should: 1. Run the board as an effective team, oversee the process of strategy development, be accessible to the chief executive and the executive team for support, challenge, and counsel, complement the chief executive in maintaining relationships with shareholders and, as necessary, other stakeholders, customers, suppliers, staff. Also, the chairman should ensure that the company has appropriate succession process in place at board and senior management level. They should ensure to be skilled in communicating clearly and effectively at all levels, and to a range of audiences, both internally and externally. So you can see this will be helping. The exhibits that I include in the notes, they will be for explaining to you to understand much better of what we have talked about or what has been given before. So it could be like an example, or it could be an extension of the explanation. So this is giving the roles of a chairman. We have responsibility of corporate leaders. Corporate leaders, of course, as you know, every CEO of a company, what is one of their main roles? One of their main roles is to ensure that they are looking at achieving a certain goal, and the entire team that has been put in place or that has been given to the CEO to support him in achieving this is working in the same is following the same direction. They're having a same tone that they are following. They're having a same procedure that they are following to be able to reach to that end goal. Assuming you are okay, we can give an example. Let's say we are a telecommunication company. Our end goal is to maybe be the best customer care suppliers. So that is the goal that the company is having. You as a CEO is supposed to give a tone, or you're supposed to put in place guidelines that are going to enable or guide the team that has been given to you. Assuming you have the junior managers, you have maybe the customer care team, a tone that they can be able to follow to ensure that they are not getting off track. So the corporate leaders, they will set a tone at the top, and then it will be followed down the lane to the senior managers, to the junior managers, and to the other members that are on the tier. So they give the mission, they give the values and the objectives, how they should be achieved, if the mission is, for example, like we said, is to achieve good customer care service, what objectives are we going to be doing on a day-to-day basis that will help us tone to achieving that particular mission. Also, the board members, it will be their responsibility to interact with the senior managers and be able to understand if they are replicating the same information to the members below them. So it is the role of the people who are on top to be able to understand that what has been set from the top is moving down without being replicated, or without being, how can I call it, without being changed. So it should be the same thing that has been understood from the senior management should go to the junior management, should go to the rest of the employees. They should also the board should also be in place to ensure that there is diversity with the stakeholders. They should set patterns that are repeated in the organization on a day-to-day basis to make it a culture for them to achieve what is intended to be achieved. So we have an example here which also still explains much more. You'll read through it, and then if you have any inquiries, feel free to ask in the group. I'm always online. So this we explained already at the start, the executive directors and the difference with the non-executive directors. Executive directors will be comprised of the CEOs, the chairman, the board, those that are in active management of the company. So this is a continuation of what is in the first handout of leadership. This is for more emphasis such that you can clearly understand the difference. Given that in leadership it can be set from different angles, it's best that you are not caught unaware. So we have a remuneration team that companies should put in place. Remuneration board mainly is for looking at the payments or deciding the salaries that will be reimbursed to the employees. Especially these ones will set the payments for the management. Management will decide which payments are we going to give to the employees, and then the remuneration board should be able to come in and set now the payments or the limits for now the managers, such that they do not pay themselves an extremely big chunk of money. So an effective remuneration scheme is one which attracts individuals with the right skills. It aligns the director's interests with those of the stakeholders in terms of awarding share options to encourage that the goals are the goals between the director that the goal congruence between the directors and the shareholders. The remuneration team also encourages the directors to take a long-term view of the company. If we are saying that this will be, for example, your payment will be 1 million. However, if you make a profit of this much, you could take a particular percentage. So it gives a long-term view for them to be able to look ahead and perform better for the company. It also helps to align the risk appetites of directors with those of other stakeholders. I'm trying to open the kit here to see if there is any question that has come on my phone. Mm, okay, just a second. Did anyone download Kaplan, the exam kit I shared in the group yet? Well, I've not been successful in finding the question. I think let's proceed. Let's proceed. Okay, so we have two main models of board structures. We have the unitary structure and we also have the tier structure. The unitary board structure, this is one of the most common board structures that are being used. It includes both the executive directors and the non-executive directors that make the decisions as a unified group, and they are legally responsible for the actions and the success of the company. Members don't have to be equal. We usually have a hierarchy. That authority will be flowing from the top tier going downwards to the least in the hierarchy. Advantages of having a hierarchy like that: all members of the board have the same legal responsibility for the performance of the company. Therefore, the NEDs are given equal status to executive directors rather than just acting in a supervisory capacity. So that is a good thing in a way, that you know that you're all responsible for the success of the company. You must work hand in hand together. If you're making decisions, you should come to a consensus. That's why we would be having votings to ensure that there has been proper scrutiny and you've been able to take the rightful or the most supported decisions. The other advantage of having a hierarchy, it helps to bring independent scrutiny on the board by the non-executive directors. This will, because the non-executive directors will not be taken as the bosses, but rather they will be almost, since they are all legally responsible for the running of the company, they are trying to challenge each other, the executive directors and the non-executive directors, to be able to, they scrutinize to be able to make a good decision before it is being implemented. Unitary board arrangements, they reduce the likelihood of abuse of power by the executive directors, since they know that they are not the sole decision makers, or they are the sole people that are responsible for the running of the company. It also brings more expertise and experience, especially from non-executive directors, given that the ones who are selected will be having the knowledge of the company or the line of business that they have been appointed to lead. So this helps to bring a more experienced team in terms of giving strategies, assessing the risks, and deciding on what should be implemented for the company's success. Closer relationships and better information flow, as all directors are on the same single board. So it makes it, because now it's not like a particular team having the entire authority. All of you are being responsible. You're doing everything collectively together. It becomes much easier because you have to continuously communicate. It means that every decision that you make, you must have scrutinized it together. There will not be abuse of power by a particular, maybe small chain or circle of the executive directors. Everything will be looked at, or all the members on both boards will be looked at to have almost equal authority in terms of decision making and company management. The disadvantages that we could be having, however, because we have non-executive directors now, having the same authority and requirements. These are not actively running the company, so it means for them they could be demanding much more. They could be required to be much more involved, almost on a day-to-day basis, to be able to scrutinize the different maybe proposals which are on the table, to check, to give more time to the company, which would not be one of their major requirements. If you're an executive director, you would want to come in at the end of, let's say, the month or at the end of the year, and you're given a report, you're checking, you're doing the monitor, or you will come once in a while to do the monitoring, giving your views on the expertise. But now, given that you're equally required to manage the company, it means you have to give more time to the company. The other disadvantage is that the needs are entirely dependent on the information provided to them by the CEOs. The CEOs could reluctantly not be willing to provide information that will then be used to challenge them in the decision making. So that could be a very big disadvantage, as the CEOs could also want to retain something to be able to support themselves, or something to be able to challenge the other decisions that could be put in place. The other challenges that we could be having is that managers may be reluctant to provide information to the board that contains the needs, who may be viewed as outsiders, because the needs are not usually actively running the company. But now, if they are sharing authority of managing, it means the managers could be scared either to lose their jobs, or they could think that they could be judged by the non-executive directors, as they are not actively in the day-to-day running of the business. So that is about the hierarchy, that is about the unitary board, which encourages hierarchy. Just a second. Okay, so the next group that we have is the tiered board. A two-tiered board usually consists of the management board and the supervisory board. Then the three-tier board, this one has the statutory board, the executive board, and the management board. This one will have three. The company can choose which of the two they would want to follow, either to have a two-tier of management and supervisors, or a three-tier where they are having the managers, the executive directors, and the statutory board that will be like the unifying, or the top, at the top of the tier. The management board mainly will be looking at or focusing at the running of the day-to-day activities of the company. In terms of, we look at running of the businesses, we look at entrepreneurship, compliance with statutory requirements. Are they doing all the legal requirements by the company? For example, filings. Maybe are they following the laws in terms of, let's say, waste management, in terms of maybe human rights? All that will be the role of the management. The managers are also responsible for reporting to the supervisory board on the outcomes of the accounts, on the strategies, on the performances, on the achievements, on everything. The managers who are responsible for the running of the business have to give accountability or give a report to the supervisory board. Then the supervisory board, on the other hand, will be comprised of the non-executive directors, headed by the chairperson or the chairman, who will be representing the employees, the shareholders, the supervisory board. Usually, the main role will be to safeguard the interests of the shareholders and the stakeholders by overseeing what the management board is doing or is achieving. So the shareholders will elect their representative to be on that board, usually by voting rights at the end of maybe at the annual meetings. They usually call them AGMs. The shareholders are given the chance to select or vote for someone that can represent them. Then we could also have other members on the supervisory board who could be representing now the employees, giving the so it can be comprised of two. We could have the next mainly looking at we could have a leader or the chair who is being selected by the shareholders to represent the shareholders, and then we could also have members on the committee who are representing the employees. This will help in the proper liaising or proper communication from both ends. The shareholders have someone they're giving the information to bring it on in the board meetings, and then the employees have someone from their side who is also bringing on the information. So it's much easier having those representatives. The supervisory board mainly will be looking at approving and evaluating of the policies that are being put in place and strategies. It's responsible for monitoring the performances and the financial statements. They are supposed to safeguard the interests of the shareholders because that is one of their main roles. That's why they elect someone to represent the shareholders. They're also responsible for calling shareholder meetings, usually maybe at the end of the year, or maybe those who have media, or maybe quarterly. They're responsible for appointing or dismissing of the management board, because they're the ones in charge of supervising. That right should be given to them or should come from them to be able to decide, no, we need a manager who is supposed to do this, we need